Hi guys, I wanted to come on and make a quick video about finding the standard deviation. So I posted something on the Google Classroom from Khan Academy, but I wanted to make sure that you had a very clear understanding. So I chose one of your practice problems. As a matter of fact, it's practice problem number 1. And I created a table for the data just to keep it neat. Additionally, I have the steps that come directly out of your textbook. These steps are found on page 759. I'm going to go through and complete the video going step by step so you can watch me calculate the standard deviation. So for problem number 1 from the classwork, I've already put the data set in the table. The numbers do not matter how they're ordered because you're only going to find the mean with it anyway. So my numbers are already placed in my table. So step 1 of finding the standard deviation says to find the mean. So to find the mean, we know that's the average. So we're going to take each one of these numbers, add them together, and then divide by the total amount of numbers that we have. So going to my calculator, I'm going to add 18 and 4/10 plus 27 and 6/10 plus 30 and 1/10 plus 30 and 1/10 again, plus 32 and 1/10 plus 32 and 9/10 plus 35 plus 36 and 1/10 plus 40 and 3/10 plus 42. So that gives us a total of 324 and 6/10. So I'm going to take that total, come over here, and write that total down. And I know because I'm finding the mean, now that I have the total value, I need to add how many values up that I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 values. So I'm going to divide that total by 10. And that gives us a mean of 32 and 46/100. Now that we have our mean, step 2 says to find the square of the difference between each data value and the mean. And if you notice in the second column of my table, it's data minus mean all squared. And so that's what step 2 means. So I'm going to take each of the values in the data set and subtract the mean from it and then square that result. And so this is what that looks like. Just writing it out, I'll have 18 and 4/10 minus the mean that we just found, which is 32 and 46/100, and I'm going to square that result. Putting that in my calculator just as it's written, I have 18 and 4/10 minus 32 and 46/100, and we're going to square that. And my result, and I'm rounding my answers to the nearest hundredth. So our result is 197 and 68/100. So I'm going to put that in my table. And I'm going to do the same thing for the next number in the data set, and then I'm going to subtract its mean. So that next value is 27 and 6/10 minus our mean, which is 32 and 46/100, and then we're going to square it. Going through the same process, putting in the calculator just as it's written, we have 27 and 6/10 minus 32 and 46/100. All of this is squared. Remember, we're rounding our answers to the nearest hundredth, so that's 23 and 62/100. So you see the gist of what I'm doing. I'm just going to pause the video for a moment. When I come back, the data table will be filled. I'm only going to take each of the numbers or each of the values left in the set of data. I'm going to subtract the mean from it and square that result. Okay guys, so I am back and now you see that our data table is filled. I've gone through and taken each of the other values in the data set, subtracted the mean from each value and squared the result, and that is the completion of step 2. Now let's move on to step 3. In step 3 it says to find the sum of all values in step 2. So I'm going to add up these values in step 2 through my calculator. So we have 197 and 68 hundredths plus 23 and 62 hundredths plus 5 and 57 hundredths plus 5 and 57 hundredths again plus 13 hundredths plus 19 hundredths plus 6 and 45 hundredths plus 13 and 25 hundredths plus 61 and 47 hundredths plus 91 and 100th. So once we add all the values together, you see that our total is 404 and 94 hundredths. So I'm going to write that total down here. Now let's move on to step 4. Step 4 says divide the sum by the number of values in the data set. That's how you find the variance, and that's what that is called. So when I combine the numbers in step 2 to get a total of 404 and 94 hundredths, my next step is to take the average there. So I'm going to divide by the total amount of numbers that I have again. The total amount of numbers that I have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to divide that number by 10, and that's going to give me our variance. So coming back over to the calculator, dividing my total by 10 gives us a variance of 40 and 49 hundredths. So that is our variance. And then our final step, step 5. Step 5 says to take the square root of the variance, and that will give us our standard deviation. So our variance we found is 40 and 49 hundredths. So my next step is just to take the square root of that. Going back over to my calculator, clearing it out, taking the square root of 40 and 49 hundredths, and that gives us a standard deviation. Again, we're rounding our answer to the nearest hundredth, so that gives us a standard deviation of approximately 6 and 36 hundredths. Again, this is problem number 1 from your practice problems that were listed. Try a few of them. Make sure that the answers match up to what you see on the answer document that I provided in Google Classroom as well. Remember, practice problems do not have to be turned in. They're just to enhance your understanding of the section. Additionally, on tomorrow from 2 to 2:30, we will have a live session, a live help session. If you have any questions regarding this information or the information from last week dealing with the measures of central tendency, please let me know at that time, or you can send me a message through Remind or through Google Classroom. I hope this informational video helped. I know that it should have made the understanding just a little bit simpler. Be safe and see you soon.